Some people don't miss you. They miss the version of you that didn't know who you were yet. You're not here to be everyone's favorite because you're never going to be that. You're here to disrupt some patterns. You're here to break cycles. You're here to change the narrative. You're here to use your voice, your story, your lessons to build blueprints that help other people. And you can't lead when you're still trying to be liked. You can't build something meaningful if you're still trying to be safe. And I want to free you from that experience of believing that you have to be this palatable, likable, people-pleasing, easily digestible, relatable person in order to live this life and live it to the fullest. Welcome to the Upgrade with Elle. So there's this tension that a lot of us carry that we don't always have the language for. It's subtle and it's quiet, but it is there. There's this moment like when you walk into a room and you instinctively check how loud your confidence is. It's like the way you shrink your truth just a little bit to make sure that you keep people comfortable with your presence. It's like the way you tell your story with these unnecessary disclaimers of, well, I'm still kind of figuring it out, or I don't really know exactly what the next steps are, but you know exactly what the next steps are. You know exactly what you're getting ready to do. We're not taught to be ourselves. We are actually taught to make others comfortable and to make others comfortable through us being liked. We're taught to be relatable, to be palatable. And when you stop performing those things, the room changes. And I'm not just talking about one group of people, because this is something I've seen happen to women, to creatives, to anyone who dares to evolve past the version of themselves that other people got used to. And I saw something recently online that sparked this whole conversation in my head. And it was a post talking about how Black women in particular are always expected to be relatable in order to be respected. And while this whole episode isn't necessarily about just that, because I believe the pressure hits us in so many different ways, this post made me pause because it's so true. There's this unspoken expectation that we should perform our realness, that we should shrink our shine so that people don't feel left behind, so that they don't feel outside and that we appear to be digestible. And I'll be honest, that really shook me to think about that, because then I realized, well, I've done that. I've played that game. I've filtered my voice. I've softened my confidence. I've toned down my success or the things that I've accomplished, not because I wasn't proud of them, but because I didn't want to make other people feel uncomfortable with where they were at or what they've accomplished. But here's the thing. Some of us have been performing likability for so long that we forgot how to just be, to speak without checking temperatures in the room, to win without explaining the how or why it was hard, to grow without apologizing for who we used to be. So this episode is for anyone who has dimmed their power in any way in the name of being accepted, because I've done it before and you may have done it too, and we all need to stop because it's BS. We're not here to be relatable. We are here to be real. Let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about what happens when you actually stop performing, when you stop over-explaining, when you stop shrinking your confidence, when you stop apologizing for knowing who you are and what you want out of life. The moment you stop making yourself small, people start shifting, as they should. And so some people are going to shift towards you because they're inspired and they're motivated and they want to soak it all up and they want to support you and do all the things, which is great. But others will shift away because they're intimidated, or you are poking at a nerve that they have not, really unpacked yet. There's a social tax for being too much. And too much doesn't always mean dramatic. It doesn't always mean loud or crazy. Sometimes it can mean too stable. Sometimes it can mean too consistent, too unbothered by the opinions that used to keep you up at night. I used to be one of those people. Other people's opinions of me would stress me out so bad, because some people are only comfortable when you're unsure of yourself. They feel safer when you're second guessing, when you're questioning your decisions, when you're still figuring everything out. But when you stop that and you start embodying your full self, they go quiet. They stop clapping. They start talking, or even worse, they just distance themselves because you've changed. But that's okay because you were supposed to. And the truth is, maybe you did change. Maybe you outgrew some people and you no longer need their approval to sleep at night. And the real issue is they don't really miss you. They miss the version of you that was small and made them feel bigger. Some people don't miss you. They miss the version of you that didn't know who you were yet. And that's their problem. It's not yours. But I've seen this before and I felt it. And that moment when you realize that a friend or a colleague or a family member or whoever, a partner, is more comfortable with your struggle than your success, you got to go. It's time to go. You get promoted and they say things like, oh, it must be nice. Or you find your peace and they're like, oh, you've changed. Or you set a boundary and they're like, oh, what's wrong with you? Listen, I changed because I grew and that's okay. And suddenly you're like, wait, was I only lovable when I was low? Was I only valuable when I was relatable? And the painful truth is, maybe for some, but it's also really clarifying to know this, because the truth is not everyone is going to go with you through every season of life. And that's okay. Some people were aligned to your insecurity. They bonded to your brokenness. They supported you as long as you stayed just a little bit behind them. But when you start walking in your full power of who God called you to be, and you stop waiting on permission and start owning your own voice, people start making decisions. And guess what? So do you. You start closing doors because alignment means more than nostalgia. You were never too much. They were just more comfortable with the version of you that was less. And so once you learn that lesson, you have to move forward. Your growth could cost you a few connections, but consider it a down payment on your peace. And let's break this down for real, because somewhere along the way, we started confusing palatable with authentic. And that's been our problem. And I understand why. Like when you're growing, especially publicly, it feels safer to water yourself down than to risk being judged or being perceived as too much. Let's talk about what happens when you stop performing altogether. When you stop editing yourself, when you stop bending to fit in rooms, when you already outgrew them and you know you have, but you're just trying to stay there because it's comfortable. When you start owning the fact that you're meant to lead sometimes and not always to follow, that's the shift. That's the identity pivot. When you stop asking, will they like me? And start asking, am I being real with me? Because when you're in that performance mode, everything you do becomes about perception. You move with caution. You water down your opinions. You don't take risks unless they come with a guarantee. And that's not a real risk. And when you shift into leadership mode, when you actually step towards the authority of your voice, something else changes. When you start realizing that you're not here to blend in, you're here to be yourself. You're not here to be easily understood. You're not here to be everyone's favorite, because you're never going to be that. You're here to disrupt some patterns. You're here to break cycles. You're here to change the narrative. You're here to use your voice, your story, your lessons to build blueprints that help other people. And you can't lead when you're still trying to be liked, okay? You can't build something meaningful if you're still trying to be safe. The moment you stop performing is the moment you start leading. You don't need permission to take up space. I had to learn that leadership does not always look like a mic in hand. It doesn't always look like this. It doesn't always look like a title in your email signature. Sometimes it looks like saying no. Sometimes it looks like walking away from something that doesn't serve you. Sometimes it looks like standing alone in your truth, because that's honoring who you are. That's the real power. It's not performance. It's standing in your truth that grounds you, that roots you, because now you're not playing small for anyone. I'm not here to shrink or be digestible. I'm not here to soften my voice so that someone else can feel louder or feel comfortable. Stop asking who might be offended by me being who I truly am. Because when you continue to have that consideration, you are betraying yourself. You are not meant to be palatable. You're meant to be real. You're meant to become. And that process, it's going to cost you a version of yourself that other people were comfortable with, old patterns, old relationships, old roles you didn't mind playing when you didn't really think about putting yourself first. But that's the upgrade. And that's the point. You don't get to evolve and stay safe. Those two things don't happen together. You don't get to expand and keep your ego protected. You have to think about your purpose over performance. And every second you try to fit into that old role, you will not be able to move forward. You cannot build a legacy from your comfort zone, and you can't upgrade your life while performing for other people's approval. So today I'm choosing to lead, not with a platform, not with a perfect brand, but with clarity and with truth and with alignment, because that's what real leadership looks like. And, I wasn't always comfortable behind this mic. I don't know if I'm still comfortable behind this mic. I'm sharing parts of myself and parts of my life that I never knew that I would bring to a platform like this. But here's what I've learned. Palatable is performance. Authentic is peace. and they don't come from the same space. Palatable is filtered, it's edited, it's digestible. It's when you post the version of yourself of truth that won't ruffle feathers. 70% of you is being hidden because when you present the palatable version of you, you're only presenting a very small fraction. But authentic is not always smooth. It's not always likable. It's not always, relatable. It's raw. It's real, but it's truth. And that's the beauty of it. That's where I am coming from, right? I don't mind being misunderstood at times. I don't mind if people are kind of raising an eyebrow and not really sure. That's okay. As long as my voice and my mission is being heard and experienced by the people that it is supposed to touch, I'm grateful for that. And I want that for them. And I want it for me because I'm breaking cycles and I'm breaking patterns and I'm breaking old bad habits. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I used to think, am I sharing too much? And if I share too much, will I lose, people in my life? Will I, if I have this platform and I start sharing, will I lose followers? Will people just not really care for me? I have to not care because that's a trap. Be yourself because it's not too much. It's just not. And I want to free you from that experience of believing that you have to be this palatable, likable, people-pleasing, easily digestible, relatable person in order to live this life and live it to the fullest. You'll spend so much time trying to wear that relatable mask when truly authenticity is the mirror. And that's the goal. You don't owe the world a watered down version of yourself. You don't have to soften your presence to be accepted. What's for you will meet you in your wholeness and your full authentic self, not your curation, not your compromise, but truly in your truth. And I know it can feel really scary. Believe me, I've been there. I'm still there. Because being real makes you feel visible and being visible makes you feel vulnerable. But being fake, that makes you disappear. It turns you into a silhouette of a person, a shell of who you used to be. Being palatable might get you praise, but being real, that's what gets you power. So today I'm choosing authenticity, even when sometimes it's not relatable, even when it's misunderstood at times, even when it can be lonely at times. Because I'd rather be misunderstood in my full truth than celebrated for a version of me that I don't even recognize. Think about that for yourself. Which would you rather? So let's talk about the thing that I think keeps so many people stuck. The fear of being misunderstood. It's quiet and it's sneaky and it shows up in ways that we don't even realize at times. We over-explain, we over-apologize, we soften our edges just to keep the peace. We share things with these unnecessary disclaimers. I don't know if this makes sense. I mean, maybe it's just kind of an idea. I'm throwing it off the cuff, just in case it doesn't land. But why are we so afraid of being understood? Because deep down, we've attached being understood with being valued. We've tied our acceptance to approval. And when people don't understand us or don't get us, it makes us question, like if we're wrong, if we should shrink back down to make something easier, make something safer. But here's the truth. Being misunderstood doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It might just mean you're finally doing it in your way, which will resonate with someone. Being misunderstood is the tax you pay for being real in a world that is addicted to performance. And listen, I get it. Nobody wants to be judged. Nobody wants to feel alone. Nobody wants to feel like nobody understands them. Our intentions to be clear and liked and accepted are there, but a lot of times we're betraying ourselves in the meantime because everyone isn't meant to understand you. Some people are not meant to get it. Some people are just not your audience. They're not your community. They're not your tribe. And that's not your problem to fix. Some people not getting you is not a sign that you're too much. It's proof that you've outgrown their understanding. And when I started stepping into this new version of myself, when I started being more bold about what I believe, more clear about what I want, more unapologetic about what I deserve, I lost some people. Some folks got super quiet. Some fell back. Some tried to guilt me for changing, and it hurt. And I won't lie. But I had to decide that I wasn't going to stay stuck in who I used to be just because some people were not willing to come with. I had to trust that the decisions I was making about my future were meaningful, because that's the gift on the other side of being misunderstood. You stop performing. You stop begging for approval and you start living for clarity. And let me tell you, clarity is more valuable than consensus. I don't need everyone to agree with me. I don't need to be in alignment with everybody on what God placed inside of me. I just need it to be between me and Him. And I'm not here to be universally understood. I'm here to be divinely aligned. And there's a difference. So if you're in a season where you feel unseen or you feel people pulling away because you're no longer performing for their comfort, let them go. Follow Mel Robbins' whole theory of let them. Let them misunderstand you. Let them assume what they want. Let them go. Because people who are your people, who are aligned with you, don't need a curated version of you. They will respect you. They will make space for your fullness. And you got it, okay? Like you have whatever it is that you need to bring that version of you to life. So if you've been feeling this tension, this quiet pressure to that staying small is not where you're supposed to stay and continuing to overperform to be relatable is not where you're supposed to be. If you are tired of curating a life that is its main goal is for you to feel and be accepted, then here's your next step. I want you to audit the places where you're still shrinking and ask yourself, who are you still waiting on permission from? Where are you still adjusting your truth to make someone else comfortable? Ask yourself these questions. What am I doing to shift away from being real so that I can stay relatable? And this week, I want you to choose differently. I want you to choose your voice, your joy. Let people misunderstand you. Let them fall off. Let the version of you that used to perform retire gracefully. Say goodbye to that version of you. You're not here to be liked by everybody. You're here to become someone you respect. And one that others can respect too. And before we wrap up, I just want to remind you of this. You're not too much. You're just too full of truth to keep playing small. So stop it. Just stop it. And of course, I want to leave you with two things. The biggest risk is not failing. It's staying the same. And you cannot change the past, but you can absolutely decide on the future. So upgrade accordingly.